Hello ladies and gents, I am Nother and welcome back to From the Depths Nother Neter, the community Let's Play. First thing is a bit of an announcement regarding the Let's Play and the tiering system which I am utilising in the game. At the moment we are currently on the 15k tier, which is the Deep Water Guard, and then we have a couple of upgraded vehicles up to the tier 2, which is 30k. And then this was going to be the same thing for all the time, so it's like 15, 30, 45, and so on, so on. So, it gets higher 15k every time we defeat a faction. However, due to the slightly increased sizes of the forces I have been using, and also the quality of the designs I have been receiving in my submissions, this, I believe, will make things like the Scarlet Dawn and Steel Striders trivial, because I think it was Scarlet Dawn was up to like 120k, which, to be honest, would be too easy. So what I'm doing, I am going to be adjusting the tiers. So the next tier is going to be 30k for Onyx Watch. Then we will be fighting a combination of White Flares and Lightning Hoods, and this will be 45k. Then we will fight Twin Guard and Grey Talons, and this will be 60k. And then finally, the last tier will be 75k, which will be facing off against the Steel Striders and Scarlet Dawn. Now the position of the forces is quite separated, so if I just pop over to the map, so we have the Onyx Watch up in this area over here, then the White Flares are here, and the Lightning Hoods here. This means that we should be able to separate the forces quite readily. And for example, the Twin Guard are over here, and then the Grey Talons over here. And then finally, the Steel Striders and Scarlet Dawn are fairly close together. Now this might seem a little bit low, but this also massively increases the number of upgraded designs we have at our disposal. Because to start with, we've really not had the 3 against the Deep Water Guard, which I haven't really utilised. If we utilise these, then we actually end up with quite a few. I think the Onyx Watch is something like 5, 6, 7, 8 we get. So we actually get quite a large number of upgrades when we're facing up against the later factions, due to the fact that things like the Steel Striders, Steel Striders up here, have 8 resource... Was it 7 right? 7... No, they have 7 resource nodes to their disposal. So if we captured all of those before we faced the Scarlet Dawn, then we'd have a lot of actual upgraded designs to go and attack them with, which will make things a little bit easier. But that is not there yet. We have a few vehicles to have a look at in today's episode, because again we have quite a large number of forces still around. And I'm going to be, well, showing off 3 designs. I don't know if we'll have a chance to really utilise them in this episode. The first up though is from Cool J. It is the Magic Carpet. A tier 1 design. And it looks pretty much like a hovering Gatling gun of death, and that's probably what it is. We've had a couple of these ones, mainly because it is a pretty effective design, to be perfectly honest. And I'll send it against the camera, and we should be able to see. Yeah, it is a rapid fire and really rather fast moving Gatling gun of death. Oh, they're actually fragmentation. I thought with the yellow rounds they were heat, or maybe they are. Let's have a look. Okay, that's got heavy armour and all sorts. Oh no, it's fragmentation with a visible choice. They are big rounds. That's no wonder they do a decent amount of damage, and they're coming out at a fair rate. So yeah, that's going to do decently well against basically anything we face, so long as it is below the target, and that is something which has been a bit of a stickler for our forces thus far. Next, from Hertzmeister, we have the Phoenix Interceptor. It's a little bit of a cheaper design, but again, a little flying vehicle. And just seems to have a load of missiles here with fragmentation. So let's actually send this against our favourite Tweety, which I've now included in the game. It is now a standard design we'll be facing, though I have unfortunately got it set to spawn in the water. I should probably change that. But can this design kill the Tweety? It does seem to have done a decent amount of damage, taking off one wing, but can its missiles finish it up? And it looks like it might be able to, actually. Although, it looks like the missiles there got spooked slightly. But, next barrage doing well, and I think it will actually kill the Tweety. Unfortunately for it, it doesn't have that many ammo barrels at its disposal. As I said before, it actually requires about 6 ammo barrels per missile pad for it to maintain perfect ammo regeneration. This only has 6 barrels total, so really it's having a little bit of difficulty reloading those missiles for consistent combat. Hopefully though, the rest of the fleet will be able to support it in this manner and it will be able to do a lot of damage. But it looks like it has basically destroyed the Tweety there, which is the important thing. The Tweety was at least disabled, so maybe it will take a long time to kill it, but it has been disabled. Excellent. Then, from the Guy of Age, we have the Circle of Death. This is another flying design. This one with a load of missiles on turrets at the top here. Looks like they are explosive missiles though. That's something you don't see every day. We'll send this one against the Drake. Looks like they're very slow missiles. And yes, they are explosive. Doing a decent damage against the Duster there. And locking in and doing a nice amount there. It also has a load of bombs underneath it. Yes, that will be very good against surface targets. So it's going to be more of a bomber. So maybe this should go in with the marksman force, which is currently has that more sort of bombardment things to it. Though all of these are slightly bombardment focused. Also from Johnny Lowe, we have this. Criminauticilli. No, there's no L in it. Criminauticilli. I'll go for that. I think this is another plane. Yes, it is. Excellent. So, let's pop on it. It's got ally and wood. Interesting enough. Let's see how this flies in combat against the Gotha. There's the Gotha. So it's come around, do more intercept type things. It's got turreted guns like that, so it's able to do both anti-air and anti-ground capabilities. Looks like one is Sabot. Oh no, that's being shot at by Sabot. So it has fragmentation guns. How's it tanking the hits from that Sabot gun now? Oh, decently well actually. So I think together these 4 planes will be a nice addition to our forces. However, due to our positioning in the campaign at the moment, I might not have enough resources to actually spawn them in, because we're doing pretty well, and I expect to, well, finish the Deep Water Guard up this episode, because we've got these 4 tiles left, and one of which is the HQ. So I'm going to probably come down to this force, because this one could probably do with the slightly more influence to the air wing. Let's move over to here and let's spawn in those new designs, because again, I forgot to actually set them as favourites. So I'll do that now. I'll set them as favourites and then spawn them in on the map. It's a lot better. I've got an attack wing coming up this way. So I've got Logi darts moving down. So yeah, here is where I want to spawn everything in. So I want to keep them a little bit away from each other so they don't actually cause problems. Oh yeah, I was playing around in one thing with the RTG exploit. It's interesting, because whenever you spawn an RTG in play and scrap it, you can actually gain resources. So yeah, that's something which I consider I might need to do at some point. I don't want to, but it is something which I did consider when we were actually being in a problem. But yeah, it's there from testing. Thing is though, do we have anywhere near enough resources for these? And the answer is no. Unfortunately, we don't. One thing I need to do is also, I've got these outposts as sort of resource and all that sort of thing, but they are not very good actual frontline bases. I think what I should do is maybe actually have a frontline base which is a more mobile version of the outpost. I'll probably design that for the next episode. Also, you may have noticed, this is something which I was really happy with, I got rid of that X. What it was spawned in a ridiculous position. It'd gone to like coordinates 4.7 billion and it was just gone. So yeah, what I did, I just edited it to be slightly near this one, like about 1,000 away from that, or whatever it is, or 10, or I can't even remember what I did, but I mean, it was close to that position there. So yeah, that is now gone and fixed, so excellent. Move all those closer there and repair that force up, as well as bring in this load of resources from there, the refinery and that. So we've got 15k, which should be decent enough. Let's advance into the next tiles and take the water guard out. Oh, one thing I need to do, and I think I need to build myself another spy satellite. Oh, darn it! I sped the game on too long and end up being blockaded again. I'm just going to remember to stop doing that. Yes! We have a coffin nail and a flying squirrel! That is amazing. It's taken far too long to get to that point. Okay, let's go for it. I always remember the coffin nail from, I think it was Arlen Gaming, when it was essentially, well, an end game. It was doing a stupid amount of damage because, well, if you don't counter its, I think it was custom cannon at that point. If you didn't counter the custom cannon it has firing down, it was absolutely beast. Because it would just hover directly above you and just shoot down, and there wasn't really a particularly great counter to it. And the flying squirrel was always something nasty until a load of updates, which has basically meant that it's really easy to hit now. It's still got decently erratic movement, but a combination of simple laser turrets, which are able to kill it really in a couple of shots, and also the local weapons controller had a massive update in the sense that it will update its targeting much faster. I think it now does it once per physics frame, whereas before it was only a few times a second. So yeah, it's all like 10 times as often, which means that the erratic movement of the squirrel is no longer as erratic. And immediately the squirrel does go charging towards our forces, and immediately the fragmentation and I think it's flak shells are being fired towards it. And its shield is doing a decent-ish job, but as soon as a shot lands, gets through that shield, it explodes. The coffin nail isn't doing much better, having taken a good number of hits, which I think has already destroyed that long, powerful gun on the underside there, which basically has made it, well, its potency fairly ineffectual. One of our ships is trying to drive directly towards its foe, but that's not going to work because it is, you know, a sea-based vehicle trying to drive towards a hover. But the cannons and missiles, good number of fragmentation rounds, and the fragmentation missiles are enough to destroy and destabilize the coffin nail, making it crash into the sea and be destroyed there. And we're still stacking salvage. So that was nice and simple. Nothing too strenuous in that combat. Right, so the next combat is Vanguard, Retrofit, Picoid, Scuttle and Vanguard. Ooh, that's the submarine. Right, well, I think... You know what's perfect against a submarine? The surface fleets. That's probably better than the Air Force, though, but yeah. surface fleets against the submarine. Well, it's a failed submarine. The Manta is considerably better since it actually goes under the water. We do also have the Waveblade, which is a surface skimmer, and that should pretty much ignore everything which is fired at it from the, well, sub. It is odd to face a battle without a load of the hoplites though, which is always good. I did make a couple of changes to the spawnings, but nothing major, so hopefully it's making a little bit of change. But I did realise that something I was doing with them is that I think probably best it would actually be to change the corporations fully, but I can't do that easily with an in-game save. So the battle begins, and our forces line up with a good array of bombardment shells going across there. We've got far too many forces for how weak this force is. However, Rambout gets shot and killed, and by the time I return to the combat, everything is already dead. So yeah, we had way too many forces in this combat for an even fight. That was annoying. Rambout has got sniped and then the battle ended. Also, 72 resources I need to go capture. Must capture those resources. I want to try and utilise the Circle of Death force. I'll leave it at that name for now, because it sounds rather imposing, doesn't it? Oh, good grief, there's 200 tiles of lightning hoods already. That's, yeah, that's really rather nasty. Yeah, 200 tiles. Okay, yeah, because we've taken... How long have we been playing the game for? We've been playing the game for almost 13 hours. The enemy forces now, everywhere other than the Deep Water Guard, have got to extreme levels. Yeah, we're going to be fighting some insane battles during this campaign. Admittedly, there are a couple of ones which are not fully reinforced, but wow, we are going to be having a hard time of it, that's for sure. I'm not going to be able to afford all of these in one go, so let's just scrap the... whatever that is. We'll scrap that one, and then should hopefully be able to afford some of the others in order to actually complete them and get them into the combats, because I would like to try and utilise them to take out this 47 tile here. Okay, still didn't manage to finish everything up, so Circle of Death, scrap you as well. Move those forces up. Blordan is going to head north and start threatening this tile here. Oh, I forgot about the T2s, didn't I? I was actually going to spawn those in. Well, we've got lots of T1s. T2s will be, well, everything will go up to T2 as soon as we go to Onyx Watch, so that should be fun. Right, let's go attack this group here. I might end up spawning defenders from the base, but that is, well, something we're going to have to deal with anyway, so, well, might as well do it sooner rather than later, eh? Well, hopefully, the responder has actually had a chance to reload enough now. It kept on getting its gun blown up and then having to rebuild its belt feeds. So, hopefully, it will function. And, no. Unfortunately, it hasn't finished loading there, so... Whoops. The rest of the forces, though, are firing a good array of shots towards the enemy there. The simple cannons having an attempt, but... well, they are being fairly scattered and not really striking anything, because they do need to be a fair bit closer in order for those small guns to actually have a effective strike. The weapons farm of the other surface ships, though, are doing very nicely, though there are some torpedoes heading towards our forces, which is a little bit of concern. Fortunately, though, our ships are decently strong against torpedoes. I do also think the torpedoes did strike above the 6 meter depth limit there, which once they're below that they do quite a considerable extra amount of damage. The battle turns into a night fight with shots and tracers skimming across the sky and explosions and muzzle flashes lighting up the darkness there. Night time is a little bit shorter now, and so hopefully the dawn and dusk are slightly extended so we are able to see the ships a little bit more readily, rather than just the actual tracer fire in that pitch blackness there. But the enemy are fairly destroyed, even if our ships are shooting each other there, so whoops. Oh, I felt the day-night cycle was a little bit better. The night wasn't as long as it has been, so hopefully that has now provided a little bit better vision during that night fight there. Darn, magic carpet is at a normal speed, so let's spawn it into play. Let's see if we can get it moving a little bit quicker in play. Good, good. And there we go, got a nice speed of 30 meters per second. And now if we pull you out of play, that should mean... Yes, there we go. Now actually moving at a actual speed rather than really, really slow. I've only got 5,000 materials there. I need a little bit more before I want to actually build the Circle of Death division up more. Okay, what's the enemy force here? We have the Warome, a sledge, coyote, and a frantic chicken. Now, you may not have heard what the Warome is. It is a player design. It is our first player design. So we'll show it off in combat here, and I'll actually go into the designer and show it off a little bit more in detail after that. But yes, I am very pleased to actually have a player design in the campaign. I was kind of worrying I'd done something wrong and done it all incorrect, and yeah, I thought I'd made a mistake. But at last we have something spawned in. Excellent. Unfortunately for the Warome, we have the Gloom. I'm going to set the Gloom a little bit further back this time. I generally didn't want to spawn the Gloom so close to our forces, but I think this way it will get an actual initial run up, because the last couple of times when I spawned it, it spawned in stationary and got shot and killed almost immediately. And as for the enemy, there's that huge beast of the Warome at the back there. And then frantic chicken, I think of calling it angry chicken as well, but you know, it's very similar. Well, it isn't, but you know, it is. Yeah, we have a fairly nasty bombardment straight away from the flyer there, and we basically ignore it. The Warome there is getting shot up as well. It has quite a large number of block counts. Let's go observe what our forces are doing. Fortunately, the Gloom didn't manage to get enough resources from our forces there to get the repair, to actually the resources on the way. I think it might be a bit of a mistake keeping Rambot on it, actually, because the fact is that when Rambot repairs it, it's taking resources directly from its own material storage, which is reducing its fuel levels. So even small amounts of damage is actually basically causing the Gloom to run out of fuel. The Whisper here that is being incredibly ineffectual. It's firing its little missiles towards the target there, but actually the Starcraft is crashing through that minefield having been created. And some of those weapons are EMP. You see there, an EMP strike hits the Starcraft, disabling it right in line with the broadside of the Deepwater Guard there. Thankfully they are only simple cannons, so the effective damage received by the Starcraft is limited, and I think quite a few of the shots are also being targeted towards the Whisper, because the Whisper is actually very, very good at avoiding shots, but as an offensive craft it is unfortunately lacking. And the fact that it is killing our own ships on a decent rate, I think it's going to need to be retired, and we can then spawn in some of the other designs showcased it at the beginning of this episode. So aside, you know what, let's go jump in and take out the AI of this craft and capture it, because if I do capture it, it'll be a nice boon of resources for our forces, again allowing us to spawn in a couple more designs for the final battle against the Deepwater Guard. Well, that battle didn't go as well as I'd hoped, actually. The Gloom did run out of resources, as I said. I thought I had more in this force, but apparently not. and the Whisper actually destroyed the shielded starter raft. It was firing its... It wasn't actually advancing properly on the enemy, and that is a bit of a problem because without advancing on the enemy, it was then just firing its, well, bombs erratically and caused, well, the shielded starter raft to run into that minefield and got disabled by the EMP. So, sorry, I'm Harness, but I'm going to have to get rid of your design because it's a bit of a liability. We did capture the more War of Maroons though, which is a fantastic 32,000 materials. So let's go grab all the materials and also save the game because we did fight something with actual cannons, simple cannons, and simple cannons have a memory leak. So crashes inbound, maybe. Maybe. I said I would go into the designer and just show off the War Marone. So, the War Marone is a design by Charadon, and it is essentially an amalgamation of the Marauder and the Riverhome. So we'll actually send it against those two designs, so you can actually see them in action. So you have the Marauder and the Riverhome. You'll be able to see quite clearly the features, so I'm sure you know what each look like already. So you have the Marauder, that's the front section there. Then we have the Riverhome here. You can see this section here. There's the Riverhome there. Actually looks like there's another... There's something else in the middle. Oh, what's that? Is that the Walrus? I think that's the Walrus. Walrus. Yes, it is the Walrus, and the Walrus just spawned on its ally, so I'll spawn another one. Yes, so there is the Walrus. You can see the barrels here, well, these were these sections, handle things, and then this plate, a wooden plate there. That's this center section here. So yeah, it's got the... Ah, so it's Riverhome. Like I forgot I even have the Walrus. I was told, but yeah. So yeah, design of 3-in-1, and yeah, it's a rather fun little design. I set it to be not much stronger than the actual Marauder. So see, the Marauder is a mere 7 battle points in this Let's Play due to the features, and the War Marone is actually 20, so it is quite a bit higher. But that is because I combined the Riverhome, which is actually 17. So the Riverhome is 17, and the Marauder is 7. So I thought, oh, you know, I'll add the two together. But then again, I think the Walrus is 6. So I thought actually its features of the Riverhome would be more prominent, particularly his large pram at the rear and the strong armoured section. It's not the same sort of armoured section of the Riverhome with it angles towards its enemy, but I just thought the pure block count would make it more resilient than the individual craft, and so far it is proving that seems to be slightly the case. It's oh no, the Riverhome crashed, didn't it? Whatever. Actually, it's proving itself to be very resilient, and that was shown off in the campaign as well. So I think around about that 20 should do for now. Though, admittedly, you're not going to be having it around for that much longer. With the Deep Water Guard coming so close to the end of its life, I have a feeling that actually we will have to, well, showcase the other designs. I do have a couple of other Deep Water Guard designs which, alas, did not make it into the campaign, just because of the, well, we hadn't actually been facing anything strong enough. And one of the designs I've added is set at 65 fleet power, just because of how ridiculously strong it is. And instead you can attack from all directions with these forces. So I'm going to attack, well, the whole of Janwall at once. And it's going to be a really long, slow battle. Good grief, look at everything is already built up to maximum. Let us advance on Janwall. So facing the Marlin and hoplites. So the Mantis is going to go over here. I will be pulling some forces out of play during this fight, but because, well, they're going to be crashing on the ground otherwise. Well, they're kind of crashing on the ground anyway, but the forces up here are not going to be able to really help against Davy Jones' outpost. And the forces down here probably, again, won't really be able to take on anything else other than, you know, what they're facing. If the Davy Jones outpost goes down first, then yes, we won't really be in a good position to help against the Marlin and also whatever is a hoplite, isn't it? It's mainly the Marlin though. And we'll go from this here. Looks like the whole battle is actually too large. The Thunder is not going to be spawning in. I'm going to actually lower the battle size slightly. The enemy do outnumber us slightly, so amount of short, so let's just take it down to about 40k. Yeah, that'll do. But by the looks of things, Dave Jones' locker has not spawned in yet. Well, we'll watch this battle and hope that not much of our forces get destroyed upon impact. Thankfully, a lot of our forces are actually out of play. I thought this would be a little bit of a better option because I wanted to show both parts of the battle, and I felt that if I just spawned in everything, well, half of the battle would be over and we just wouldn't see it. Even as it is, the battle is over quite a long distance, so trying to show both targets, what's being hit and what's going on, is being very difficult. I just wanted to show there a nice strike from the Hammer Time. But now we have our planes coming in, and yeah, the first one around there, and the next one gets very close, and the third one also gets very, very close. It appears that whatever the height this craft likes to hover at is exactly the same height as all of our flyers. And it does have shielding, but thankfully the inertial there does stop it. Oh, and there we go. Crash! Wallop. It does look like it tried to drop bombs on its target though, which was quite cool. Oh! Ow! Crash! Bang! Wallop. Yeah, maybe we should actually put rams on all of our flyers. Though, it does seem to be just this particular craft. All of our flyers just seem to want to ram it. They get just exactly the right height for a ramming attack. It's ridiculous. Still, it is now 2 damaged, so I decide to hop over towards Davy Jones' outpost there, upon where the Gloom is heading towards it. This looks quite a bit impressive. Not many ships are firing towards it, and it does have a good barrage of shots there from all directions, missiles and all sorts. It looks really rather impressive as it is firing there. So, the Gloom is coming in, and it gets hit by missiles just before it lands, so its rams don't do any damage. It's like, actually, I know where the AI is in Davy Jones' outpost, so I just jump in straight away, smash my way in, and destroy the AI very quickly, and then capture it. And then decide, you know what, let's go take out the Drake as well, and capture that as well. And there we go. Davy Jones' outpost has been captured. What's odd though, I haven't come up with the victory thing for the Deepwater Guard, so odd. Still, that is the Deepwater Guard defeated, which is awesome. And we have now a lot of resources there, so a load of things which we can do. I'm going to quickly bring this over. And this is an infinite reserve. Is grand. I did actually capture the Drake there. Excellent, excellent. I'm just going to scrap that force. And also I did manage to capture Davy Jones' outpost with an absolute colossal amount of materials on it. So I can scrap that for lots. So let's scrap the outpost completely. And then rebuild mine in its place. Move the Lodger darts in, so they can cover, and then basically send everything else up. Please don't go through the White Flares territory. Thanks. Excellent. That is absolutely brilliant. We have defeated the Deepwater Guard. And yes, now advancing towards our next target. That means that all designs that now have, well, all builders now have a 30k slot. The tier 2 designs. So we'll begin looking at some of those designs in the next episode. Excellent, so I'll save the game. And then let's just show the designs which unfortunately did not make it in. From Mazar Luke, we had the GS Falkenheim. This was set to be slightly more than the Falkenheim because it is set up to essentially have a lot of big broadsiding cannons. If I send this against the normal Falkenheim, if I can find it. There we go. GS Falkenheim and then the normal Falkenheim. I said it to be slightly more, around about 10-20% more, because I considered that the main guns were much more deadly than the Marine Dusters. Particularly as the Marine Dusters crash on the way out of their positioning there. Actually, I'm going to destroy the enemy vehicles because this is more set up to take out ships. So we'll send this against our friendly Kelmar. I think I didn't ever face. We didn't ever face the Plunderer, did we? Okay. Odd. We did at least face some Kraken though. They're good fun. One issue this design did have is that it has a tendency to go towards the wrong side. This was partly mitigated by the settings I had for spawning it in. It would actually always face in the correct direction. But yeah, if it does get out of position, it doesn't turn particularly well in facing its main guns, its big APS guns, towards the correct target. They are though pretty powerful APS guns. Though I think this one, I don't think they are ejected, so if it goes up in a really rather amazing fashion. It does have ejectors, I don't think they're safety fused, so yeah, let's just show that off. I'm getting the explode tool, so if it gets hit at the front, it's still made of wood and metal, so it's not particularly the most tough design. Okay, so it does actually vent all of its shells down into the sea, so it isn't incredibly explosive, but you know, it is a very big APS. And if it does get out of position and does get hit, it can explode itself up, so there is always that. And looking at the Frantic Chicken, there are Deepwater Guard designs which do have actual ejectors. Maybe 28 was a little bit low for it though. It's always difficult to tell how tough a design is going to be, because you can always try a design and it seems really potent in certain situations, but then you try against something else and it's just countered really hard. So because it was made of wood, I thought, you know, it would do fine. Still, we didn't face it, so it wasn't an issue. Now, the Big Scary by Arthur. This was the other side of the spectrum. This thing was ridiculous, and I set this really high. I set this up to be a 1 just because, well, the paddle gun, which it is based on. If I look, the paddle gun is a 20-point design. This is 5 of them strapped together and then flies. I'll show you what it's like against the Kelmar. It lines all of its guns up, it fires missiles everywhere, and then it does that with its main gun. Yeah. The target is destroyed. This thing is ridiculously strong. And that is why I set it so high. Let's send it against the Kraken, which is probably something which has a similar layout of ridiculous numbers of guns. Its weakness, though, is that it is very, very vulnerable. It's got very high recoil and makes these blades pretty vulnerable. It is something I requested when I saw the design that it was, that a few hits would basically make this fall out the sky. And see, there we go, the Kraken is just ploughing through. The APS of the power gun are very explosive, which we have seen in the campaign. It does have some shields, but yeah, if shots get through, it just starts exploding, and then as soon as that happens, it's literally falling to pieces now. Still, it is on par with the Kraken, which is why I also set it to be so high, because I looked at it and thought, that's a flying Kraken. Admittedly, the Kraken is only 30 battle points. But being flying does make it a considerably harder target, since a lot of our forces would just have a difficulty facing off against it. And that goes the case with quite a few designs. Maybe it was a bit high, but because we didn't actually face it, but I thought, well, I was thinking, you know, setting this against 15k designs, it's just going to eat them instantaneously and just not be a battle. We did fairly well against the Kraken, so maybe my fears were unfounded in that regard. As I said, it's always very difficult to tell when testing these sorts of designs as to what is actually going to be a good counter. And I think it's always slightly better to overestimate or the player designs than underestimate, like I probably did with that Falkenheim variant, because players will be designing to face off against the known faction designs, and purposely I have made sure that if I receive these, I won't show these off. Like you can see the names of the vehicles, but beyond that, I'm not showing off much about them. Though I do have some which are not in this list yet, because I haven't actually implemented them into the campaign, because they are later on implementation. Things like the Steel Striders, and what else have we got? I thought I had something else for the Grey Talons, but maybe not. I've seen the design for Grey Talons, but I don't think I've actually received the blueprint for it yet. Still, as soon as the Big Scary gets in the water, you see it's no longer a threat, but the Kraken has done a very good job at completely annihilating it, despite being half the deal that any of our designs would have that level of firepower. But there we go. That is Nother Neter against the Deep Water Guard completed. And so now, all is going on to the Onyx Watch. So, thank you very much for watching this episode of From the Depths, Nother Neter, the community campaign with myself and a Diffin. I do hope you enjoyed this episode, and please leave a like and or comment below if you did. It is always great to hear from you lot. Also, be sure to check out the rest of my channel for more From the Depths videos and other games, and swing by the Discord channel for more direct interactive chatting regarding the vehicles being utilised in the campaign here. Otherwise, that's going to be it from me for now, and I shall see you next time. But until then, I'm out. Goodbye.